So we can repeat along with Prabhupada, all right? He's leading. You want to get a chair for Mataji? Get a chair. Yeah. Chair for Mataji. Gopi put it on the camera on the screen. Who knows for sure? Jai. Give Govardhan ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shishi, Guru and Gauranga, Gaur Premanande. Hare Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining us today on the summary overview of the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita entitled The Divine and the Demoniac Natures. As you know, these are facilitations, so we do things to try to enhance retention. And these are techniques that we've learned even in the VIG with Ras Mandala. So you'll find a variety of materials as well as methods to help you remember remembrance of Krishna, and we're going to find out in this chapter why it's critical. All the chapters deal with that, but this one in particular is a wake-up call. Very powerful chapter, short, and some people may think, oh, I know that, but actually once you get into it, it's quite deep. I hope you'll be able to follow quickly and attentively with us. We have lots of material to cover, and as I said, in education, we keep it brisk, and at the same time, we hope that you can participate so that you can follow and you can retain. The goal of a facilitation is what you know when you leave, not what I know. That's the purpose, and I pretty much state my objectives pretty clearly now in the study guides as well. So the first step is that we take a look at resources. Now, another thing about facilitations is that we weave in the skills that you can apply to your own life and study. So we make that part of the explanation, not just covering the content, but we weave in the skill, so that when you leave, you also have some understanding of why we do things as we do. Not only the what, but the why. Okay, so please take a look at these. We're going to be using these extensively. In the past, I used to have them and not perhaps refer to them so much. Now we've designed them in such a way that you'll be using them throughout the whole facilitation. Okay, so everybody have one? Okay, very good. So the first thing you do, it's a skill. Anybody does it when he goes through a magazine. He skims through it, right? I quickly go through it. I don't try to start with an article in the middle and read every paragraph. No, I look to see what's there. You plan anything, you have to do that. I got to shop for the Lord, shop for something. I plan. So this is our first step. Check the materials. What do I have in my hands? Okay? So you have a study guide that's in 2 parts, right? The first part is information. The second part is activity charts, and we're going to be filling those in. Okay? So in the first part, of course, another skill, and they teach this in speed reading, is that you get as much as you can out of whatever you have in your hands. Right? Have you ever had to squeeze a lemon and then you just try to get as much of the juice out before you toss the rest out? So that's the skill. Because sometimes people look at something and they could learn a lot just with that first skill. So in the cover, right? We see the title. We see the book, first of all. What's the book? Bhagavad-Gita, as it is. That's why it's powerful. And what are the titles? Everybody loudly? Yeah, right, because I can tell you, but if you say it, it's more powerful, right? You've had to actually participate. The more you participate, the more you learn and remember, and the more you like it. Learning is actually, it doesn't need sugarcoating. It's the natural nature of the soul. What's the title again? Yes, if the radio's working, they'll hear it. The divine and the demoniac natures. And what chapter is it? 16. Very good. And what is this? Study resource materials. Yes, they're for you to keep. You can keep these. And they're helpful. Now on the inside, very important first page. Retention, objectives, checklist. These are the things that we really want you to know when you go out the door. Because surprisingly enough, a lot of people don't. So the point is, how much did I learn in my very prescribed period of time? Those are called learning objectives. So you'll see that we'll be doing that together. Then you have 2 more sides to one sheet, which is a more elaborate way to fill this in later. And on the reverse side of that, you'll see the themes, 16 themes. Those are also delineated in the Bhakti Shastri courses. And in this chapter, we have 3. How many? 3. So always remember that. And when I hold up my hand, you do the same thing. Okay, everybody? Yeah, you know, have you ever seen little monkeys? You do something and then the monkey copies. So that, believe it or not, is the most powerful way to learn. It's called experiential learning. If I do it, my body had to do it, I had to think about it, and I engaged my senses. All right, Bhagavad-Gita as it is. All right, this section now includes, these are newly developed sections, a chart that shows you the 3 parts. This chapter also has 3 parts. How many parts?
3 parts.
I don't see anybody, nobody here wants to show you're with us. I'm not going forward until everybody shows. Okay, how many parts?
3 parts.
This is critical because it makes it logical. Okay, now the other thing we've done is we have given you what we call in education the prompting word, the key word. I call it the title word. We've given you the word, and in this particular chapter, we have 2 sections that have 3 slokas combined. And then we have 1 section that has 2 slokas combined. That's why you have 3 words here, and you'll see them bold-faced. And you'll see every once in a while I've broken up the text into phrases. That's a study skill. If I try to take too much, I don't digest it. I do it in bites. And I put a little icon there to indicate the break and a picture. So this is very helpful when you're reading the slokas. You'll get an image and you'll get the pauses so you can think. Thinking is part of study, right? Okay, so you'll see it, and it's divided according to the 3 what? Topics, right? There are 3 topics. And you have title words in boldface. Plus they show up again in the text. All right, and then it ends with a self-check chart. Self-check means, do I remember what I covered in the class? I can fill it in. Self-check. Right? It's like, let's say if you were taking an exam and you want to know, I check myself before I walk in. Do I know what I have to put on the test? Now we have the key thematic verses. And in this, you see, if you look at the numbers, there's a chart. And how many are there, everybody?
7.
Louder?
7.
That's better. Okay, there are 7 key verses. We don't have any memory verses here. There are 7 key verses. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. We do. No, they're all key verses, no memory verses here. 7 key verses. But they're all important. Okay? Everything's important in the Gita, but some things are used specifically. The preachers are supposed to memorize these as well. Memory verses, they have to. Everybody has to. All right? And those are done similarly with the bold thing, and you get everything here. You get the word for word, right? Plus the Sanskrit, plus the little icons. And you have a self-check chart at the end. So we know which ones are really, really important. Okay? Then this is old material. I don't take time to go over this, but this is quite extensive. It's from the purports, and anywhere there's a word in there that appears in the purports, be it Sanskrit or a scriptural reference, I put it in with the page, and it's also by section number. So if I want to know what abhaya means or sattva samshuri, right? I have the reference. And I break those down with numbers too. There'll be many points. So this is, for those who really want to know a chapter, this is quite a helpful little guide. Okay. It looks extensive. We don't cover all that here. But for those who are really studying, it's a very helpful guide. All right.
Can you speak in the microphone?
Yeah, oh, sorry. Now, the next section is transcendental and demoniac qualities. That's your first topic. And these are called analogies and examples. I would often use these to make slides. And I didn't have that many for this because we have a lot of new material. But there also, you'll see important points. Am I done? I think I'm looking down, and that's the problem. I have to look down. Is that better? It's okay. So you'll see here, again, I take something straight out of the text because Prabhupada's very direct about making concise statements that are very powerful. Now the next section we have, knowledge and values objectives checklist, transcendental and demoniac qualities, and we have a numerical system there. How often do I practice these divine qualities? And then you'll have the demoniac nature and references. How often do I succumb to these? And it's bound to happen in the conditional state. And you get a rating scale of 1 to 5. Do I never do it? Do I always do it? Sometimes do it? These are all ways to assess yourself. You have to be your own manager in life, in spiritual life. Okay. Then we have here from the Vanipedia, we have the slokas that Prabhupada has cited and the number of times that he did. Again, for the scholars, this is very helpful. And it starts out with the first line, the first few words too. So that's a very helpful list. Out of the 24 verses, I guess all of them were cited. I don't know if I got that correct. Well, maybe I made a mistake. Okay. Then we have scripture references that Prabhupada uses. He's also authoritative. Any serious speaker will refer to Shastra, especially if he's an Uttamadhikari, he will quote it directly. Numerical inventory, we're going to do a lot of that. Now, we're going to go quickly to the charts, because now we've developed some newer charts for you. This chapter has a lot of lists, so we thought the charts would help you. So in the first section, first side, you have the section we're in. We're in the Jnana Yoga section with a self-check. And we are now in the fourth chapter of the Gyan section, the final section. And on the reverse side, you'll see the chapter charts with a self-check. Everybody following okay? Okay, and you'll see it on the screen. Again, this is very important. How many topics does Krishna address? And what's the important thing about each one? So by the time you leave here, you should pretty well understand 3 sections, how big they are, and what's the point. What's the point? Now in the last section, we have the color picture charts that are on your screen. A little harder to read here, but also with everything has a self-check chart. Okay? And then we see it in code form, because codes are very powerful. It's abbreviations. They use them in chemistry all the time. It's a fast way to communicate. And it makes it quite simple. Okay. And you can quickly see the numbers, the size of the 3 parts, 996, and codes. TD for transcendental and divine, D for the demoniac qualities, and the results of demoniac qualities, and choice. Human form of life affords the choice, no other form. So that's why we're going to speak on why we're fortunate to have come to the human platform and why that is so critical in developing transcendental qualities, because that can only be done in the human platform. Demoniac qualities you automatically have when you came to the material world. The transcendental ones can be cultivated in the human form of life. Did you all hear that? Prabhupada said that. In the human form of life, you have the opportunity to cultivate what he calls Daivi Sampat, divine qualities. The animals cannot do that. Very important. Okay? More self-check charts. And then we have here the themes. Okay? And then we have the 26 divine qualities in a list. These are VIHD charts. But I've come up now with things that I think should help you more, hopefully. We'll try to be, again, more extensive. You have about 3 or 4 VIHD charts. You have the results of demonic activities. These tend to be something people have a hard time going through, so we've tried to come up with ways to make this easier. So, and we have also Vedic knowledge, and we're going to talk about why that's so important. Why is it important to know the Vedic knowledge and this breakdown? Now, what I've done here, if you take a look, we have what we call title slides. We have 2 sets of slides for every sloka. We have one slide that's just the title. It's got the number of the sloka and the one word. That enables you to do what we call a walkthrough. A walkthrough is I go through something quickly, but I don't deal with everything. I just have one word, and then I see the link, because we've picked the words that are often the link to the next verse. On the back of that, it's too small, but we put it there. Did we put that? We put the verse charts. Okay, now you can't really read that there, but that's what we have in the slide presentation. So you'll see the actual verse with, again, the word at the top. Steady means I'm progressive. I start with the most basic thing, and then I go into more specifics. I don't start with specifics. People often do, and that's why it doesn't work. You always go from general to increasingly specific, and there is no limit. You can spend a year on one verse if you want to, or one word. Janmada Shah, right? So, and then we have a particular interactive today on the demons in Krishna's pastimes. Now we brought that in because these are the anarthas that the conditioned soul often has to cope with, and it's why the Krishna book was created for the devotees. Because by reading these pastimes, they're called naimitika, they're occasional, they're not nitya. In the spiritual world, what's going on, nitya lila. But in the material world, the demons are there. Why? Because we have to remove them. So we have an interactive with slides on these pastimes. I hope you like it. Okay. And then on the back side, this is very important because if you see the list, this chart, if you see the list of 26 transcendental qualities, you would have a hard time digesting it at first go, unless you know. And actually, without Prabhupada's purports, we would not have understood how they're subdivided. This chart will show you that these 26 qualities are divided according to Van Ashram. That's very important. They're different from the 26 qualities of a devotee. Did you all hear that? It's two separate things. These 26 qualities represent the qualities that you cultivate in the conditional state. If you have a body, you have two duties. You have conditional for the body and constitutional for the soul. You understand that? Constitutional duties we all do. Chant Hare Krishna, study Prabhupada's books, follow sadhana. Conditional duties we do not all do. Some of you are in female bodies, some of you are in male bodies, some of you are in different ashrams. You may be brahmachari, you may be vanaprast, you may be sannyas, you may be grihasta. Those depend on your spiritual and on your occupational divisions. Do y'all understand that? So this one breaks it down, the first four break it down into your spiritual divisions, and the last four break it down into the occupational varnas. Am I a kshatriya? Am I shudra? Am I a brahmana? Right? You understand? Or a kshatriya. So if you just read the sloka, I don't know about you, I don't think I'd have figured that out. Prabhupada makes it very clear. So do you all understand the importance of this? 4 varnas, 4 ashrams, and these qualities are subdivided accordingly. So hopefully this will help you get a deeper understanding of those qualities and why this chapter is important. Because if you don't consciously develop these in the human form of life, Prabhupada says, in the mode of goodness, you have to stay in the material world and accept more bodies, and you don't know where I'm going. It's very serious business. You may be in a female body now, you may be in India or in Vrindavan, you might wind up who knows where. I think they said Nehru wound up as a dog in Sweden. Heavy. It's serious business. It's not to be gambled with. And the more you know Shastra, the more seriously you take this. People don't take it seriously because they don't know Shastra. That's the problem. How can you follow the laws of God if you don't know them? You'll have to break them. Everybody understand this? Okay, so let's take a break. We go back and forth between text and slides. So now we're going to take a look at, I think, our choice slides. I like to have a theme for the classes. It helps us. So this particular class, and I like to have objects too because that helps us. This particular class gives us a different kind of vision. Remember how in each class we were trying to develop vision? In the 14, the vision of the strings, right? And in 13, the vision of super soul in everybody, right? And I'm trying in the 15th chapter, I'm trying to think particularly what was the vision we had. But this one We call this the mirror of introspection. This particular chapter now deals with looking inward. I have to assess from these qualities that are being either Daivi or Asuri Sampat, I have to decide which one am I dealing with. Do you all follow that? This list is critical for self-assessment. Now, there's no one here who can say, I don't have any of the problems. The minute you have a body, you're covered by some degree of lust, which leads to greed and anger. And those are the three gates to hell. What are they? Lust, anger, and greed. And that's in this chapter. So we have to face that. We have to face that. And this mirror is two-sided, so it's enlarged on one side. That means Vrindavan. What happens in Vrindavan? It's magnified, right? Anybody who's been here a while has gone through that one, right? So we're going to be passing this around later. And when you look at this mirror, what you see, Prabhupada said, is the result of your contaminations by the three modes. The kind of body that you have is the product of the contamination of the three modes. It's a disease. It has to be cured. Most people don't know that. Just like a lot of people have a disease that they didn't diagnose, they don't know. Most of the world does not know that the material body is a disease. It is not a healthy state. The healthy state is your pure spiritual identity. That is the pure, healthy state. We now are getting closer. Everybody follow that? So this chapter, the analogy is the mirror of introspection. I look inside. I don't judge anything outside. Because what I have inside is what I see outside. That's reflected in the demons. Those demons are showing up because they're there. That's been proven. It's called projection. Even the materialists know that. Okay, so everybody understand the theme? Last thing I remember was we did the theme of the film strip, right? We're doing an extension of that this time, but we're applying it to the Braj Leela. And why did we do the film strip? This is critical. We found out that to make a cartoon in 1 second, does anybody here, do you remember how many drawings they have to make 1 second? How many? Anybody know? Remember? Okay. 24 drawings for just a simple cartoon to create the impression of a moving reality. 24 drawings. They call it, I'll show you on the screen. 24 FPS. 24 frames per second to make a simple cartoon. Any cartoon you watch, for 1 second, the artist had to make 24 pictures. Prabhupada, I have his quote from this chapter. He said, our life is changing like that, like a film spool. Now, why am I stressing this so much? On a film spool, if an artist, for a crude picture, has to make 24 drawings, that means for us, let's just use a crude analogy. In 1 second, how many bodies do we change? How many? 24 bodies in 1 second. Crude example. And that doesn't include the devas who are creating the scenery, the props, the details. We have no idea how complex the video we're watching is, and it's all by our karma. 100%. So why am I stressing this? Listen carefully. If our body is now changing 24 times per second, that means in 10 seconds, 240 times. Everybody follow it? This is shocking. Last time I know we held out the strip and devotees were just shocked. And that's crude, material example. If we want to know how involved karma is and the devas are and how God is God, just think about it. He's doing that for everybody simultaneously. No break. So here's the point for today. If I'm changing my body 24 times a second, that means my previous karma is fructifying. And what I do now, 24 times per second, is making my next body. What's it doing? Do you follow it? Raise your hand. Do you get it? How many people understand this? A little heavy, huh? It's heavy. That means for 24 units per second, and Vedic time deals with that. They deal atoms, hexatoms, lavas. They break time down beyond what we do. 24 times per second, I have to think of Krishna and do only activities for his pleasure. Did you hear that? What do I have to do 24 times per second? Think of Krishna and do what? Only for his pleasure. And the Shastra says the same thing. Ahaituki apratiyata. Unmotivated, uninterrupted. That is the goal. Anybody here there? Do you understand my point? Because we walk around, the mind's here, we do everything, and we think, oh, we're devotees, we're fine. But when you really think about it and what's going on, it says in the 4th chapter, the intricacies of action are very difficult to understand. And they must be understood with the help of authority. That's the books. Is this a wake-up call for anybody? Put your hand up. Wake-up call? That's another theme, because we're going to watch a little cartoon called Wake-up Call. We've got some cartoons. I use cartoons because cartoons sort of show something heavy in a light way. If we look at pictures as devotees, we couldn't handle it. It's too horrifying. Okay, everybody got that? All right, now while I've got the pad out, we're going to do this. These are the important things you need to walk out of here knowing. And we go numerically. Numerically, this is a skill. It's a way to classify. You can classify by numbers, you can classify by alphabet, you can classify by chronology. We're going to go by numbers. Number 1. Everybody hold up one finger? 1. This you must know. The one thing that determines the devotee from the demon is the scriptures. What is it? The scriptures. Who's a devotee and who's a non-devotee, a demon? Scripture. That's it. The one criterion. It's in the purport. Verse 5. Don't forget that. If you follow scripture explicitly, not just 70%, 20%, 100%, you are what? A devotee. A demon does not mean I've got horns and a red tail and I walk around with a pitchfork. When you listen to what the Shastra says is a demon, Prabhupada said 99.999999910 of the people are demons. I don't see anybody walking around with horns and a pitchfork, do you? But that's what it is like. He said there's practically no devotees on the planet. Handful. We're rare, fortunate souls aspiring to become devotees, right? Anybody found that interesting? Very heavy realization. So the one thing is the scriptural. Those who follow are devotees. and those who don't are non-devotees, and Prabhupada says they're asuras. And they can even be devotees of Brahma and Shiva. They're classified, according to Shastra, as asura. Ooh, that's it. Right. He gives the reference, Ravana and Hiranyakashipu. One worshiped Brahma, the other one worshiped Shiva, Rakshasa, right? Hiranyakashipu, they worship Brahma. He said they're demons. It's very heavy. That's what I'm saying. And once you really think about, and I listen to Prabhupada's lectures, he has a lot of lectures on this. You could do a class on each lecture. It's profound. If you think the purports are profound, the lectures are completely mind expanding. I wanted to do slides on, it was just too much volume. Is that good? Okay, number 2. 2. Everybody got 2 fingers up? I just want to see if everybody's awake. All right, come on, you're not going to go to sleep. I have to scan the class. There are, at all times, everywhere, 2 kinds of people. What? 2 kinds of people. What do you think they are? Divine and demoniac. At all times, everywhere. Not just then, not just now. And everywhere. 2 kinds of people. Okay, got that one? And I wish I had the reference for it, but I've heard in other yugas, the demons were on different planets, and then later they were on different countries. And then in another yuga, they were in the same city, but in different parts. In Kali Yuga, they're both sitting inside. Have you heard that? Yeah, they're both side by side. So is the demon outside? And you have to make how many choices per second? 24. Crude example. Everybody find this a wake-up chapter? I did. I don't know. Once I started reading it, I got, oh my goodness, I got pretty serious. Number 3, there are 3 gates to hell. What are they? Yeah, lust, anger, and greed. The minute you come to the material world, your love of God converted into lust. Automatically. This propelling force that goes towards Krishna propels you to go the opposite direction towards the illusory energy. 2 things happen if you have lust. If you have a body, don't tell me you don't. It's explained in the Shastra, chapter 3. The enemy of the world, lust. Different layers of it. Like smoke, right? Like a dust on a mirror and like a child in the womb. If you have the human body, it's just like smoke. It can be cleared. If it's not satisfied, I get angry. Well, first thing that comes is greed. You're greedy. I want more. Look at the material world. I want this. I want that. I want this. I want that. It never stops. And they make money on that. If I'm greedy, I want more. If I don't get it, I get what? Anger. And Prabhupada says in the purports, and the sloka says, every sane man should give these up. They degrade the soul. What do? They degrade the soul. 3 gates to hell. It's not an exaggeration. It sounds like some poetic reference. No, it's the truth. Prabhupada even said, here's your secret. What do we do? Okay, I got lust. I got a body. It's a result of my karma, 100%. What am I going to do? Prabhupada was asked one time, what do we do? Prabhupada said, he said, I can't say I don't have lust. I'm just too busy. Now, what should that tell us? Stay busy. Because the minute you don't, what happens? You have to engage in your senses. And they take you down. Your only hope is getting out of this. It's very difficult once you've gotten into it. If I get a spot on a white sari, I have a hard time getting it out. Right? Imagine what we're up against. It's not a small thing. I'm just trying to make this class relevant. We can go over the slokas, we can go, but bring it to home. Personal, relevant. What is my problem? How do I solve it? Do I have a problem? You have to have a problem. You've got a body. And it's going to die. Okay? Number 4. 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. That is how they divide the 26 qualities. That'll help you. It's too big to do 26 things. In learning, we never do more than 7. The mind breaks down. Try to eat a piece of cake with one bite. You can't. You have to take bits. So we will be breaking that down. The next number. 6 qualities are given for the demon. Now that doesn't mean he's nice. He doesn't have some. They're so bad. Pride, arrogance, conceit, harshness, ignorance. They're just horrible. And the whole rest of the book expands on that, the chapter. And then it gives you, if I make a choice, I have to elevate or degrade, and I have to know Shastra to do it. So do we need the Bhagavad-Gita? You better, if you don't have the Bhagavad-Gita, how do you know the law? You're going to break it. Even as a devotee. I'm fine, I'm a devotee. To what degree? Okay, next. Some other numbers. Yeah, the 26 qualities, right? 26? And then I'm trying to think what else. There are, we also learned what chapter are we in? What chapter?
16.
Now here's another thing. I'm going to teach you what we call analogous thinking. We call it memory links. When I say 16, what do you think of to help you remember? 16. What? Tell us. Go ahead. Yes, the mala. No, that's not what we're talking about, but it's a link to help me. In case I forget, now here's a perfect thing. How many slokas are there? What do you think of when I say 24? 24 hours. This is the code for this chapter. 16 what? Every? Okay. Does that help you? Yeah, actually learning can be fun if it's made creatively. I just have to learn how to use backup links. What's 1624? Oh, very good. See, she's smart. So now you know the chapter number and how many verses. So whenever I try to memorize things, I try to see what number is going to help me, because my memory's not so great. But if I use memory skills, it's a lot more effective. All right. So we have to move pretty fast now. We're going to take a look at, here's our slide. This chapter teaches us to see what? Inside. And this is a quote by Bhaktisiddhanta. Look within, amend yourself, rather than pry into the frailties of others. The tendency is to look outside. And I don't know about you, but I've certainly had to go through that one. And now I know better. I've had to go through that. If it's outside, it means Krishna's putting something in your path that's your problem to amend you. Next one. This is your, I love this. I found this. This is a value scale. The left side is black, demoniac. The right side is divine, pure. Now we did this because I studied art in college. We would put a strip of white paper. And the white paper looked as though it was changing from white to gray, depending on where you were in the scale. It's an illusion. But this one did the same thing with dots. So the dots here will represent your Atma, your soul. Everybody, what does it show? Your Atma, your soul. And it's in the darkest, either the most demoniac. It really shows up because it's bright. And of course, we don't want to go to the Brahman, but when it goes all the way to the white, it disappears. You see the difference? It's relative. Divine and demoniac are in proportion. It's not just... So you have to find out, where is my soul? Am I here, 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 or totally transcendental? Because Brahman is the beginning of transcendence. Brahman. Okay, everybody find that pretty helpful image? I found that amazing thing like that. Okay? Now, the mirror is in the middle. Your choice. And we have a little series of these for the words. What's on the left? And what's on the right? Okay, now let's see some other terms, because Prabhupada uses many terms, and what I did was I changed the words. Okay, quickly, because we have a lot of slides to look at. Let's go quickly. What are the two words? Daivi and Asuri. You should know the Sanskrit. Daivi and Asuri. Okay, what's some other terms? What's the result? Liberation or? That's it. That's it. Next two. What's on the left? Vaikuntha or Kunta. Material world is, we always have this chart. That's our choice. We're in the position to make a decision. Prabhupada said, you have a body because you wanted it. Nobody enforced it on you. It was our choice. And he said, you have the choice now in the human form of life to get out of this. Next is what? Nivrittim pravrittim. He said, these are the first two symptoms. Nivritti means I follow the path of renunciation. Pravritti means I follow the path of sense gratification. If I want to gratify my senses, the minute I do, it's pravritti. And I stay here. One desire can keep you here. He said that. One. He took a sweet ball one time. He said, I just took this for Krishna. Prabhupada was quite explicit. This is Sat. Sat. And that is what? Asat. This means truth. That means not truth. Next two. Shuchi and, clean. Demons are unclean. Internally, externally. Next two. One elevates, and what does the other one do? It degrades. Next two. Is that it? Yeah, and here we have the term good and evil. We did this last time. Both words are there. You have to see them. Can you see it? Good and evil. Everything in the material world is divided into two kinds of people, and it's good and evil, and it's the theme of every drama, the protagonist, the antagonist, because we'll be watching a little bit of that if we have time for all these videos. We have so many videos. Okay, now let's take a look at the link slides for where this information is before chapter 16. Very important. And I'm going to show you again on the tablet. We're trying to use the tablet more. Oh, okay, I don't want to look at this. How did I? Okay, clear the board. Okay, here we go. In the last chapter, we had the summary of Vedanta Sutra at the end, if you were here. Krishna is the supreme Purushottam. Who's the Purushottam? Krishna. And then there are two kinds of people, right? Fallible and infallible. Good, some of you remember. The fallible ones have the 4 defects, right? plus all the sufferings, birth, death, old age, disease. Infallible ones are in the spiritual world. They're in harmony with Krishna. This chapter, watch carefully. This chapter is more specific. It takes this kind and subdivides it. Understand? Into fallible, but now you can either be divine or what? Yes. Do you see the link? Now let's look at the next slide. Let's see where, because Prabhupada quotes this in the purport. Where we find references to this specifically. In chapter 7, verses 15 and 16, describe the duskritinas and the sukritinas, divine and demoniac, the pious and the impious. They're described very clearly. In the last chapter, in the purport of number 2, it talks about the secondary roots, because we talked about the banyan tree. Those secondary roots, if you see it on the left, arrows, I don't know if you can point to that. Prabhupada says they lead to 2 kinds of action, either auspicious or inauspicious, religious or irreligious. This is the link. This chapter will tell us what's religious and what is irreligious. You all follow? This is where you get the information before, and this chapter is an extension of that. All right, now the next one. Quickly. Here are other references. 9:11. Fools deride me. Who are those who are demoniac? These are the impersonalists. 12 and 12 to 14, you get the comparison again of those who are bewildered and those who are the Mahatmas. And why is the bewildered one so scary? Because anybody who's in the material world who is not a devotee, it says he's attracted to demoniac and atheistic views by nature. So you're trying to convince people who are atheistic and demoniac by nature because they think the material world is real. They're bewildered. So it's hard to convince people that by nature they're going to believe in atheism. Very difficult. Devotees are rare. And then these charts show in different references that we change bodies. That's why I showed the slides. 213, purport, is the result of our activities. 1418, dangers of developing ignorance. If you don't know Shastra, you go down. 1619, this chapter, who decides the body? We don't. At death, higher authorities give you your grade and exam. It's not your choice. You don't know. Even as a devotee, who can say here for sure where you're going at death? So that's why this chapter is so, so, so important. Okay, I think that's pretty much for that section. Okay, I'm trying to think now what else we want to do. Because we have so little time. We want to cover, that's atheism. Let's take a look at now covering the qualities by the breakdown. The chart that shows, you have that now. Refer to this in your study guide. It's the one on the back. Okay. Here you have the opening statement, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, Abai's going to, you have this chart. It's very small, but at least you get the idea. Now we're going to see the slides big. So we want to know which qualities go to which ashram and varna. Number 1, quickly. This is this opening statement. Quickly, Abai, number 1. Sannyasi, how many qualities? How many do you see? 3. He has to be fearless, he has to purify himself, and he has to cultivate knowledge. That's what those 3 are. Prabhupada describes these very explicitly. Number 2, Grihasta. 3 qualities. He has to give in charity. He's the only one who makes money, or should be. He has to control his senses because he's living with a opposite sex. And he has to perform yajna, which is prescribed to be sankirtan in this age. How many qualities for the grihastha? How many for the sannyasi? 3. Okay, next one. Vanaprasth. How many? 1. Austere. Austerity. Tapas. Prabhupada said everybody has to perform austerity or you don't have a spiritual life. Next one. Brahmachari. What is he supposed to do? And then in the purport they also add, he should be gentle, and I'm thinking, what was the other one? Simple, not duplicitous. Okay? Got the 4? Now let's go into Varnas, because this is how it's broken down. For the Brahmin, 12 qualities. Okay, that's small. We're not going to cover them all, but they're there because everybody who's a devotee has to develop Brahminical qualities. What do we have to do? Like simple, non-violent, truthful, don't get angry, renounce, be tranquil, don't fault find. Those are divine qualities. And that's for everybody, but specifically the Brahmin has to have them or he's not a Brahmin. What about the Kshatriya? What is he like? He has to be vigorous. He has to be forgiving, right? Right, remember Prithu Maharaj, he had to forgive, right? And even Parikshit, Kali, he had to give him, right? He surrendered. Ram, he had to accept whoever comes to me, forgive. And fortitude, internal strength. And the last one, Vaishya, cleanliness. Now, Prabhupada says about the black money. Don't deal with black money. Be honest in your monetary dealings, because they're merchants. That's cleanliness, it's according to that. And the last one is the Shudra. 2 qualities. Freedom from what? Envy. You should not be envious. And number 4, the passion for, he's in the low position, he's supposed to serve the higher ones. The problem is everybody in Kali Yuga is called a Shudra, born as a Shudra, and he thinks he's important. Did this help you understand those 26? Okay, hopefully. All right? Now we're not going to look at all the other specific slides. We have slides for each one. We have so many sections we want to see. I think now, because we're going to be talking about, let's take a look at some slides on atheism. Okay? Because usually we talk about, so these are current famous atheists. You have that folder by? We don't have charts like this, but I'm trying to give you references. No, it shows the atheists. Is that the beginning? Okay, here we go. Atheism. Look at who some of the people are there. The scholars, the scientists, the people that society, they're atheists. And they're bewildered. They blaspheme against the religion. Let's see how much. Let's take a look, if you don't believe it. Milton wrote a famous play called Paradise Lost, called Satan's Speech. This is the mentality of everybody in the material world. What does it say? Better to reign in hell than what? Serve in heaven. That's what Satan says. So we're here because we didn't want to serve in spiritual world, so you have to be God in the material world. They explicitly say that. Next. The mind can be what? The mind can make a heaven of hell? These are famous quotes. Or a hell of heaven. Have you ever experienced that? The mind is important. Controlling your mind. You could be in a very difficult situation, but if you're transcendental, it won't affect you. And next, there, Nietzsche. What does he say? Loud. What does he say?
God is dead.
God is dead. Prabhupada said, Krishna, Nietzsche's dead. He said, God never died. But people, they quote this. God is dead. Look at this. Throw away God. These are images you'll find by the atheists. What does it show? He's throwing away religion. You don't need religion, throw it out. I found a picture that shows that. I didn't make these pictures up. Just click on atheism, you'll get tons of stuff. And this is quoted from the purport. Look at this, famous Michelangelo painting. God is touching the hand of Adam. Now Adam says, sorry, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I'm not going to listen to you. Rejecting God. So I'm quoting this chapter purports. I did that. I took verses. Okay, look at this on a bus. What does it say? There's probably no God. Stop worrying. Enjoy your life. That's on a bus. Now, what's that going to do? Have fun. Enjoy your senses. He doesn't know for sure, but he says there's probably no God. Therefore, he feels free. Now, look at this guy. He's the example of the scientist. Prabhupada says whose only business is to convince us that there's no God, that everything comes from matter. He says when they have scientific meetings, the first rule is don't talk about God. It's a fact. Don't bring in God. This is science. What's his shirt say? In science we trust. You know, the American Bill says in God we trust. We trust in science. That's the demoniac view. I just wanted you to believe that the Bhagavad-Gita is true now as it was then. It's a fact. It's a fact. All right, now what else do we have? That's it for those? That's pretty much it for that. Okay, did we have time for these changing bodies one? We didn't start with that. Okay, let us now take a look at, I'm trying to think if we want to slip in a little video. We have so many sections. Let's take a look at the wake-up call. This is a cartoon, because I think we need something light, but it's heavy message. There were some that Abai and I rejected. They were too heavy. Okay, quickly, the cartoon called Wake Up Call. How many of you have a telephone? This is relevant. You all have phones? It's about 5 minutes, but still, this is a wake-up chapter, no? Okay. So now we see history, how coal is made. Millions of years ago, animals die, and they become compressed, and it converts into coal, which is an irreplaceable resource. It's way down in the earth. Compressed, dead animals make coal. Okay? Now let's see what happens now. This is the world we live in a demoniac-oriented society. And we're all victims, and part of it. You all have phones. I do too. What are we doing now? They're taking, what are they getting from the earth? Coal, right? All right, now let's see what they're going to do with it. They're going to put it on a ship, and it's going to travel all the way on a ship. I'm doing this so people on the radio can know what's happening. It's going to get off, and it's going to be poured into a smokestack. And it's going to go through all kinds of machines to make a nice hot liquid. And it's going to go all the way down. And then it's going to come out non-removable batteries, shelf storage space, planned obsolescence. And then there are all those Chinese workers putting it together. And then they're going to ship them all. We're going to ship them all. It's true. This is not false. It's true. And what do you get? Wi-Fi number 5. Now, here's a nice person, And he goes in and he's so happy because he just got his new phone. Everybody got it? Okay, he's going to go home. And as he goes home, he finds out, as he looks at all the ads, that his Wi-Fi phone is now replaced by all the new models. Is everybody, as soon as you get a model, they advertise the next one, right? Now, he goes home and he orders a new one by the telephone. And it comes automatically. And he's doing it so fast that as soon as he orders them, he has to throw it away. It's going right into the environment, outside of his house. And it collapses. And he's falling down. And look at all the phones and computers that go into the environment every day on the planet. This is true. No, everybody agree? Well, I mean, I know I have to buy equipment, and after 1 year, I gave up replacing a lot of stuff. It's just going to go in the environment. Now he's falling down, and he's having this nightmare. And in the nightmare, this is what he sees. Telephones, telephones, telephones. Okay, more telephone. It's not a joke, right? You look on the ad, that more phone, and it's just a pile of garbage in the world. The world is trash. That's all. It's just a trash. Oh. He's feeling. His phone is ringing. And he wakes up. It was a nightmare. But was it? And when he wakes up, that's the latest phone. He turns it off and he decides, not for me. What am I going to do? Now the problem is the materialists try to find an answer. He sees a little bird and he wakes up. I'm not living life. He looks at a picture of his children. He goes out the door and goes and takes his two children by the hand in nature to get away from the nightmare. And what happens? Anybody know that? See it? I know Pandita told me that as soon as they put up their little goshala where they're trying to have natural thing, a big tower went up next door. Anybody believe that this is a problem? Yeah, we're burying ourselves in trash. It's called Wake Up Call. This chapter is like that. Okay, now let's take a quick look at, let's see, Animal Planet. We're going to look at some more videos now. The reason I got carried on with this one was that Prabhupada said this civilization is love your dog, but don't love God. He says they are so obsessed with dog. He said, how can we preach? But they have a human body. We have to try. At least they have a human body. We're going to show you a series of slides and a video that are, it's endless. Just like the atheist, it is endless. Especially in America. You don't see it this bad in India, but it's coming. The obsession with the dog. The obsession. All right, now let's take a look at the video. Should we do the video? Or should we do the slides first? I think we do the video first and then we'll show the slides. The slides will show you in terms of people with their dogs and then dressing their dogs and then dressing like their dogs. He said, we have to try because at least they have a human form. But he says, it's very difficult. I've got Prabhupada's quotes. Okay? You got the video? This video is for people who teach their dogs yoga. They do that in the West. They have doga. It's called doga. Yoga for dogs. What happened to Bai? Huh? Well, where are our slides then? At least do the slides. You have the slides? You don't have the backup projector? We're trying out a new projector. Well, if worst comes to worst, I'll show it on my pad. It's shocking. Okay, because we also want to do the Baraj Leela things. Well, maybe Krishna's telling us we don't really have time for this. We'll just show a few. Do I have that series? We have a video, or we did, or you can't get it, right? See, there's always a technical. This is a problem with technology. We just got a projector because oftentimes the other one doesn't work, and now this one's not working. So maybe we're not going to watch that one. I don't see it pretty fast. There's so many slide series. Okay, don't worry about it. It's called Animal Planet, and Prabhupada's quote. I've got his quote. Huh? Are we going to get it? Okay, here it is. This dog was probably a yoga teacher in his last life. And his lady is going to be a dog in her next life. We are reenacting at every moment our previous life, and we are creating our next one. Now, if you watch this is the degree of obsession. Do you believe it? Now watch this. Now this one's really the cherry on the cake. Hold your breath. Can you believe this? So much time to train a dog. And he was probably a yoga, he had to have been a yoga teacher. And she's going to be a dog. Reverse the roles. They don't get it. Prabhupada said they don't know how dangerous this is. They don't know what they're doing. Without knowledge, they won't know. And it's called Animal Planet. You have the, okay, we have so many more slides. We've got the choice slides. All right, just a few of those slides from Animal Planet, because I want you to see what we're dealing. Prabhupada was not exaggerating, and that was 50 years ago. It's worse. Everything is worse. You saw the cell phones? He didn't even have those at that time. Right? Okay, now here he said, so this civilization, this dog civilization is spread all over the world, that it is very, very difficult to cure it. I'm taking his quote from a lecture on this chapter. Okay, let's take a look at these slides quickly. Number 1, general statement. And this is from this chapter. A demoniac person does not know that the present life is preparation for the next. He doesn't know, he doesn't even believe in it. Next. Doga. This is the video. Impressive doggy workout. Next slide. And we show the picture of him doing this. Past life, her future life. She doesn't know what she's doing. Next one. Reenacting, she's pre-enacting. They don't get it. A devotee should know better. Next one. And we saw that picture, okay? Quickly. This is an amazing video. It's really short. It's actually cute. These dogs have good karma. Believe me, dogs even have karma. This dog, she shows the picture and he copies what's in the picture. And he's actually got good karma. He's cute. Next picture, it's also him. He even sees the curtain. He goes under the curtain and he slides under it. Next one, we're going to look at some more. They even have carriers for dogs, backpacks. Next picture. They have strollers for dogs. You can buy these online. Pick every color you want. Next one. Celebrity dogs. I'm not kidding you. These are on, next picture. This dog was really rich. He's got a house just like the big one. This is not a joke. Next one. This dog has a 2-story house. Next one. Here's a simple house you can buy online for your dog. Not a temple, a dog house. You can dress up your dog, dress their deity. Next one. Put him in glasses. Next one. This is too much. This little boy and that dog have 100,000 viewers on Instagram. The dog and he dress alike all day long. They've written a book, and another one's coming out at Christmas time. The dog is famous. He's got good fame karma. What's the boy going to be? Take a look at the next picture. Lunch together. This makes Judd Barrett look like nothing. And the last one, he's holding up the thing in his teeth, and he even dresses like a dog. What's his next life? This is how deep the ignorance is. A few more. They've got to see what we're dealing with. And even this is a society for the love of dog, not for the love of God. And these are spas in America, because where there's a lot of money, wait till you see the prices. You go to a spa for your dog. $30 for a bath and brush. $10 to brush his teeth. Do you believe this? This is what they spend their money on Krishna. Okay? And the final one is another little cartoon. Okay? Oh, for the love of dog. Let's just watch that one video with the little puppy. Because it's just like a few seconds. But this is the obsession. That's the point, is the society Prabhupada's not wrong. It's a dog civilization. And you have to preach to them. They're either atheists by nature, or they're just mentality, and they can't understand Shastra. And you see the dog looks at the picture, and he copies it. Now he's been trained to do this. He's actually got beauty. He's cute. He's a cute little dog. And he sees the curtain, and he runs behind. This is exactly what happens. And he's hiding under the curtain. And that's it. And then finally, in the end, he comes for his close-up. What's her next body? Too much, huh? Okay. I think what we should do now is take a look perhaps at the sloka slides. I think we'll go through that chapter. Let's take a look at our sloka slides, okay? Is this helpful? Do you understand? Okay, now we're going to run through the verses really fast, just with the title. Because you have your title slides now. And then the last thing we want to do is our Braj Leela. Okay, quickly, number 1. Just start with number 1. I just took a keyword. Remember, 24 slokas? 9 in the first section, 9 in the second, 6 in the choice section. Okay, here we go. Remember, fearlessness. These are combined verses. Sannyasi has to be fearless. And the picture will confirm it. Just look at the slides. This is sort of just a chance to, a link. Number 2, nonviolence. That's one of the Brahminical qualities. Okay, and I just found a picture. I found transcendental pictures. I didn't try to take material pictures. Forgiveness, Draupadi, forgiving, Ashvatthama. She's a Kshatriya. Number 4, the first quality, Olympic gold medal. What's that quality? Pride. Right, that's the first one, pride. Next one, 5, Number 5, the divine qualities take you up, and the demoniac qualities take you down. It's conducive either way. Number 6, how many kinds of people? 2, divine and demoniac. Number 7, he starts to describe in that sloka the demoniac, his nature. Number 8, they say the world's not real, enjoy yourself, it's a phantasmagoria. Number 9, and this one, their only business is to create things that will destroy the world. And there's the fat man, that's the first atomic bomb. And we have a lot more of them now, bigger than that. Prabhupada says all these things do is accelerate death. They don't solve any problem. That's your first section, 9. We're going to go to the next section really quickly. Number 10. They're motivated by what? What's the word? Lust. And it burns like fire. And they're anxious all the time. Prabhupada says anything you do like in Kunta, activity makes you anxious because you're afraid of death. And there he's afraid of the bomb. And what do they do to treat it? Pills. America pops pills like crazy. Next, 12. And all they experience is a network of desire, 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 desire. Number 13. These are the famous 3 slokas. It's a soliloquy. So much wealth do I have today, and I will have more and more tomorrow. And the next one. He is my enemy, I will kill him. Next one. I am surrounded by aristocratic friends. And you'll find that's how it goes. No purport to this, but that's a famous speech. That's people what they say. And it leads you where? Hell. That's where they go. And number 17, they're self-complacent. They think everything's fine. They blaspheme against the real religion. That's why I showed you all those atheist ones, so you'd believe it's a fact. Now, the next section starts with 19. What is the result? Krishna says, I cast them into the demoniac species of life. Perpetually. Next, 20. Into the most abominable forms. Once you go into animal form, you're stuck. You have to go all the way up through the species. What are the 3 gates to hell? Lust, anger, and greed. That's another key verse. But those who have escaped, the devotees have escaped those 3 gates. And what do? They engage in acts that lead them to liberation and devotional service. 23, that was whims. These are the people who don't follow scripture. They whimsically go against it, even if they know it. They go down. 24, but those who know scripture, that's the one criterion, they follow the rules and regulations, and they get 3 things. They get peace, happiness, and the supreme destination. Now it's almost 7, so we're going to just look at a few choice slides, and then Prabhupada's going to end it, because with Prabhupada, what he said is very heavy. Prabhupada at the beginning, Prabhupada at the end. Okay? So you have a few of the choice slides. We had these in the last section. We didn't have time for them. This is human life. That's the star. You have a choice between Maya or Krishna. This is your choice. This is your chance. Which will you choose? 24 chances per second. Next one. This world is relative. That world is absolute. You're going to have to go through these fast because it's just showing the contrast. Wherever I found words, they were in the purports. One's divine and one is demoniac. You have to make this choice consciously. It's not just something I don't have to think about. You have to think about it and make the decisions. Next, Asuri or Daivi. Next, Asat or Sat. Next one, Asuchi or Shuchi. Next one, Kunta Vaikuntha. We also looked at these in the video one. And the last one, we have another one. Oh, Pravritti. Enjoyment. Do I enjoy myself like the bus said? Or do I consciously control my mind because I know better? Next, Prabhupada. Okay, here we go. And this will end the show. Prabhupada's really forceful in this. I love this. Why I have to accept death? Why I have to accept disease? These are the problems. These problems and can be solved in what? Human form of life only. It's your only option. Not in the life of cats and dogs. Our only request, you make your life successful. All of you. You've got a good chance. You know better. This is possible simply by doing what? Chanting. And what? Okay, everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And we thank you very much. Hare Krishna.